Welcome to Life Fit with DVD. Welcome back. Thanks for being here. I almost did not make a video today because I simply was like, what do I have? I don't know if I have anything. But I got to thinking about something, and it really actually just kind of appeared in my head. It was more of a revelation than anything else to my own psychology and my own motivation and how sometimes things work for me. And when it comes to motivation, it seems that sometimes there's things that just pop in my head that I'm not really sure why I want to do or achieve this specific goal. But sometimes a specific goal or achievement pops in my head where, let's just say I want to have the grass mowed by this weekend, or I want to make sure um, I plant everything in the garden by the end of today. And that thing kind of gets lodged in my head where it's just like, okay, well, let's make it happen, right? What is it going to take to make that happen? And typically that is just putting my body in motion towards that thing, to that end. And depending on the difficulty of the task, well, you know, you do it, right? It's pretty simple. It's you think about something, you imagine doing it, and then you do it, right? But I found that this kind of works for big tasks as well, in that there was a program I had done years ago around coding, programming, software development. I wanted to be a software developer, a an engineer, right? I had it in my head that my path forward was to be a blockchain developer, and that is what I wanted to do. The idea was in my head. I could see it. I found a path. I found a program to go through to do it that was on an expedited timeline, and I was like, I'm doing it. I am going to do this. Right? How hard can it be? So I started the program. I had done basic research about coding and what was involved and what it took. Uh, and I knew it would be a lot of screen time, a lot of problem solving, a lot of sitting and kind of just working through problems. Um, and that's what I did. That's what I did to start. Right, I was solving basic problems in a very controlled sense. Right, but then when it got deeper into the course, right? I mean, I enjoyed the beginning. I enjoyed the problem solving. I found it rewarding to sort out these things and kind of put together these logical puzzles. However, when it got into the more detailed stuff, where you don't really know what you're trying to do, and you're just trying to figure out, you know, how basic functions work, well, that got a little bit more tedious. And instead of feeling like I was achieving something, it felt like I don't even know exactly what I'm trying to do, and I don't even know if what I'm trying to do is going to be worth it. It really sucked away my motivation from the entire thing. And then compounding that with, oh, okay, the goal is to get a job around this. However, all of the people that were, employing around that wanted very specific skill sets that, well, you probably don't have initially, right? As somebody that's getting into a field. And because the program really didn't prepare me for the real world and what went into the real world, solving those problems and doing that job, well, I felt underprepared, and it sapped my motivation. It sucked it away because I felt that everything I had been learning, as novel as it had felt, and how as rewarding as it felt to solve the problems, the real world example of it was very unmotivating, where it didn't feel like I was doing anything. And it didn't feel like the same as what I had imagined it in my head. It didn't feel the same as what the program kind of leads you through. The real life example is, well, getting the actual job and doing the actual work was, you know, much more tedious. It seemed, right? And ultimately, I felt underprepared, and because of that, it destroyed my motivation. It made me really complain about it a lot. I didn't like what I was doing. Um, I was unhappy then with the path I had taken and the amount that I had invested in this thing when it wasn't achieving the desired result, the imagined result that I had expected, right? And that they had promised as well, right? They had promised certain things along the line, and things didn't happen, right? And ultimately, my motivation just was destroyed. And what I realized is that even though there were hints along the way of like all of these things that didn't match my expectation of like what this whole experience would be like, I kept going. And I kept going because I was still holding on to that vision, that initial objective, the initial goal, the initial achievement of I am going to be a coder, programmer, blockchain developer. And because I held on to that vision, this is a perfect example of why sometimes you need to listen to yourself and your own lack of motivation. Because, well, you simply do not have the energy, and sometimes it is not worth the cost. It is not worth the time, maybe the financial cost, the cost on your energy, the cost on your time to continue with certain things, especially if you're feeling wrapped up in that negative story, the things that just are not aligning with how you expected it to be. And I find this happens quite often in my life where I hold on to dreams or goals that maybe should have been a little bit smaller, maybe should have been a little bit more manageable, and taking baby steps to do certain things, especially the big objectives, right? The big goals, like what I had just talked about, with becoming a coder, a programmer, right? So try to break things down as much as possible, especially for the big tasks, right? See how you feel after doing certain things and monitor your own energy along the way. Check in with yourself. Maybe this means keeping a journal. Maybe this means talking to other people about it and confiding in people about the experience that you're having. Writing about it, talking about it, journaling, right? Something that you can do to externalize your own self-feedback on the experience. And it's important to go back and observe this, right? Reevaluate it after a while. And if you're noticing a pattern of negativity or something that feels off, right? Listen to that. And if you can't figure out what it is, right? Then maybe it's important to take a little bit of a step back, right? If you can't figure out what that is, talk to somebody else. See if they have any ideas for why you might be experiencing that. And it's just in my experience that I have a hard time paying attention to my own energy when I'm so focused on the external environment and trying to achieve specific objectives, goals, what have you. So it definitely can be hard for people to check in with themselves and really, get a handle on that energy and what it's doing and why it might be there. But this is an important process to go through, not just for your own resources and managing your own stuff, but for your own motivation, right? Because if you are experiencing these negative things, there might be somewhere else that you need to be. There might be something else you need to be focusing on. Maybe it's just in that moment. It could be in a broader perspective, a bigger perspective, but something's off. And you're going to tell yourself. Your energy will tell you. Because ultimately, we will be aligned with things that are going to be the most beneficial to us. That is where we are attracted to, right? We want to head towards the things that feel good for us and are helping other people in the process. And if we're not feeling that way and we're not experiencing that sort of thing, and we're just maybe driving ourselves from from our own motivation, it might not always be the best thing. Maybe you can do it. Maybe you can actually, will yourself to complete certain things, and then you'll feel good about it in, the grand scheme of things. But if ultimately you feel good about it, and then it feels somewhat hollow, like it didn't contribute towards your bigger picture or that general direction that feels like you want to go or need to go or whatever, well, reevaluate it and pay attention to it, because a drop in motivation is going to be a critical indicator for something is not right, and you need to try to sort out what that is. So I hope this story helps. I want to share one other quick story that I was thinking about around this, and I was playing a video game the other night, and I wanted to complete a certain thing by the end of the night, and I realized several hours later, after it was way past my bedtime and I should be sleeping, that the objective that I had set for myself was way too unrealistic, unreasonable, and yeah, a little bit grandiose. But my mind held on to it for far too long before I was like, this is not sustainable with, this is not a good use of my time and keeping all of the other good habits that I have in my life maintained, right? So it's important to try to find that balance between all of these things and evaluating our energies and our emotions and our motivations along the way to see what aligns with ourselves and the direction that we're going, even if we don't have a completely clear direction, right? Sometimes you do not know what works for you until you have experienced it. But once you have experienced, a certain thing, and you know that something doesn't work with it, it's important to integrate that concept or that experience into the overall knowledge base of, everything that you are and what works and what doesn't work, and that can then go towards the direction that you are going and where you are searching for that you need to go. So once again, I hope this helps. So yeah, please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this. Let me know how your own motivation works. Do you hold on to certain ideas and objectives, goals way longer than you should, like I do, right? So let me know in the comments if that's something that happens to you and how you might be able to overcome that yourself. I find it's a very trial and error process. Sometimes, just taking the baby steps and doing some sort of shadowing and kind of going through the motions to see if something will work for you is a good idea as well. But once again, it's always hard to experience something until you're experiencing it. So thanks for being here. I hope you enjoyed this, and yeah, until next time, I'll talk to you later.